We at Sterling Law recently were successful in a deportation appeal for our client, who was a Jamaican national who entered the United Kingdom as a minor. Unfortunately, his mother, due to various difficulties, did not manage to register him whilst he was a child, as a result of which he never held leave to remain. Thereafter, unfortunately, due to very difficult circumstances that he was going through, he subsequently ended up with various criminal convictions. The Home Office decided to make a deportation order against our client. We represented the gentleman, and thanks to the efforts of Sterling Law, the appeal was successful and the appeal has been allowed. We always recommend to our clients that when dealing with deportation, the consequences of it are so severe that an applicant should always obtain legal advice before proceeding further. And usually the process that works with deportation is, if the Home Office intend to make a deportation order against any individual, they first write to the individual, and they usually give them a time frame on which to respond and to put forward reasons as to why a deportation order should not be made against that person. Thereafter, once those representations are put forward, the Home Office will make the decision. Generally, the Home Office do grant an in-country right of appeal for deportation appeals. However, unfortunately, sometimes they do not. There was a case last year in the Court of Appeal which ruled that depending upon the certification and under what legislation it has been certified, generally speaking, if it has been certified under a specific piece of legislation, then those people are entitled to an in-country right of appeal. Many of you may recall our current Prime Minister, when she was a Home Secretary, making the announcement saying that it would be very much a policy, that the Home Office policy would be deport first, appeal later. But thankfully, the courts have last year overridden that, as a result of which, generally speaking, most people who are unfortunate enough to have to go through a deportation process do get a right of appeal. But it's absolutely essential that if somebody is facing deportation, that they do obtain the correct legal advice, because a failure to do so will have severe consequences, and it can also have consequences for any later appeals as well. So therefore, all the documentation, any evidence has to be collated, has to be gathered, and obviously if there are any witnesses who are willing and are happy to come to court to give evidence on behalf of the person, obviously all those witness statements need to be drafted, and any other evidence which may be relevant to that person's witness statement needs to be collated, and all of this has to be done. Thankfully, like I said, our client was successful, but it did involve a considerable amount of work. Many hours were spent on his appeal.